Alright, hey guys, welcome to another episode of Let Me Ask You This. Today's episode, we'll be covering Season 3 of Stranger Things. There are spoilers, so if you have not seen it, stop watching. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments what you think of this video, and if I missed anything important. I like hearing what people think. So, if you feel like I missed something important, let me know. All my notes on my laptop, so I'm going to be reading and looking up at the same time. Alright, so this season takes place 1 year after the events of Season 2. It takes place the 4th of July weekend. So, Dustin has been away at camp for a month, where he got a girlfriend. Her name is Susie. She is Mormon, and her parents won't let them talk to one another, so they communicate over radio. Makes sense. He's not Mormon, she's Mormon. And besides, they don't really have that much technology. The Starcourt Mall was built and is putting the mom and pop shops out of business. Steve, everybody remembers Steve, the babysitter, works at the mall at Scoops Ahoy with former classmate named Robin. Nancy and Jonathan have an internship at the Hawkins Gazette. While Jonathan is respected as a photographer, Nancy is belittled by the men there and only asked to get coffee and sandwiches. That's the time period. It's not right, but she's a great detective. But that builds up into a story. Billy, everybody remembers Billy, works at the community pool as a lifeguard and frequently flirts with married women, particularly Mike and Nancy's mom, Miss Wheeler. So, he convinced Miss Wheeler to go meet him, or he thought, and he was going to go where they told him, which he told her to meet him for a little private swim lesson. And on his way there, Billy crashed his car and got possessed by the Mind Flayer. Everybody remembers Mind Flayer. The big black cloud of smoke that Will kept seeing. So, after a massive power outage, yes, we're jumping around a little bit because that's what the TV show did, so I'm just trying to keep it in order a little bit. Joyce notices that the magnets at home and her work have somehow became demagnetized and starts to investigate what caused it. Hopper asks Joyce on a not a date, but she forgets and goes to Mr. Clark, the middle school science teacher, about the magnets standing him up. So she was like, nope, forget your date, I'm more worried about magnets. Guys, I missed some crazy stuff real quick. So, Elle and Mike are still dating. So is Lucas and Max. And Will is dating Dungeons and Dragons. Really feel really bad for Will. You know, all he wants to do this season is play Dungeons and Dragons, and all these other guys are like girls. But you know, that's the age they're at. You know, some people mature differently. Some people take a little bit longer to be like, oh, look at girls, they're pretty. But yeah, I feel bad for him. He just wants to play D&D with his buddies, and his buddies are like, girls, oh my god. But they did a great job at showing what it was like for young teenagers to be like in their first relationship. We all been there, always wanted to hang out, and the parents be like, you guys are hanging out too much. They did a great job at showing that. You don't really see that all that often. So Hopper asks Joyce for advice on how to talk to them. To be like, hey, you guys are spending too much time together. And Hopper just straight up threatens Mike. And so then that leads Mike to lie to Elle and cancels plans with her. And Elle got upset. So Max gives her a makeover to make her feel better. And then more teenage stuff happens, you know. Elle spies on Mike using her powers, and Mike calls girls a different species, and Elle takes it the wrong way. And in reality, Mike's just confused on why he's just trying to do what Hopper said, not knowing that Hopper didn't have the same talk with Elle. So, or somewhat same talk with Elle. So, Mike's confused on what he did wrong, and Elle has no idea what's going on. And then Elle ends up dumping Mike. Okay, so on to Nancy and Jonathan. Catch you guys up with them. So, on a rogue investigation, Nancy and Jonathan interviews Miss Driscoll, I believe how you pronounce it, if I remember correctly. A widow who has been unknowingly captured a rat possessed by the Mind Flayer. So she got a call while she was late at the office one day, saying that this woman had a crazy rat in her house, and the rat was eating fertilizer. So the Mind Flayer makes people eat fertilizer for some reason. Come to think of it, they really never explained why. They just came up with theories, but nothing ever went back to it. So on to continuing with the Mind Flayer. Billy kidnaps Heather, another lifeguard, and she too is possessed by the Mind Flayer. The two team up and do the same things to Heather's parents, whom is Jonathan and Nancy's boss from the newspaper. Okay, so this is where things start getting a little bit crazy. While trying to communicate with Susie, Dustin intercepts a Russian message. He, Steve, and mostly Robin did all the work. Translate and decode the message, learning that Russians are using the mall as a front to receive secret shipments. The three of them ask Erica Sinclair, Lucas's little sister, to climb into a vent and give them access to the room the shipments are being held in. The four of them enter the room, which turn out to be an elevator that propels them 500 feet underground into a secret Russian base. Now trapped, they discover that the shipments are mysterious liquid substance. It's pretty much like acid, I guess. It's green. One broke and it ate away at the floor. It's pretty much acid. Elle uses her powers to spy on Billy and suspects that he is connected to the Mind Flayer. She and the other kids test their theory by trapping Billy in a pool sauna, knowing that the Mind Flayer does not react well to heat. They learn that Billy is indeed possessed by the Mind Flayer, who tries to kill 11. So if you guys remember, Will was infected by the Mind Flayer, and he didn't like heat, so that's where they came up with that idea. Joyce and Hopper return to Hopkins Labs, hoping to find the energy source that caused the magnets to stop working. Hopper is beaten by a mystery man, who then later connects to the town's mayor. Hopper beats and kidnaps the mayor, who admits that Starcourt is a Russian front. Also on a few other town properties. So this mayor is working with the Russians, guys. So, we have Dustin and why are these? There you go. Steve and Robin working it on their side, and you have Hopkins and Joyce working it from the government side. Joyce and Hopper go to one of the properties where they meet Alexei, a Russian scientist. They are discovered by the mystery man, who turns out to be a Russian mercenary who nearly kills them. But they escape and take Alexei with them. Alexei doesn't speak English, guys. He speaks Russian. So they travel to Murray's house, the paranoid journalist from season 2, if you guys remember him, hoping that he will translate their communications. That went well. Alexei wouldn't talk. He kept asking for Slurpees, and Hopper kept giving him the wrong Slurpees, and he ended up talking because he is more afraid of the Russians, to go back to the Russians than to stay and talk with Hopper. Because he knows if he goes back, they're going to kill him. Because if he says he doesn't speak, do the Russians know he didn't speak? But they find out that the Russians are trying to reopen the gate to the Upside Down. Steve, Robin, Dustin, and Erica, aka the Scoop Troop, managed to escape the elevator, but then later discover Erica and Dustin... Oh, they got found. They got founded, guys. They get found by the Russians. Erica and Dustin got away and looked for a way to save Robin and Steve, who are interrogated, beaten, drugged with truth serum by the Russians. Guys, it's not really truth serum. They just got them high. It's hard to keep secrets when you're high. So they just loaded them up on some drugs, and they were like, this is truth serum. And because you're high, you believe it's truth serum. So you speak. Dustin and Erica return to save Robin and Steve, and can't believe I wrote this down. The 4 of them, I'm going to say that instead, escape into Starcourt's movie theater. Robin and Steve... Oh, okay, so before I continue, I forgot to add this. So, they get to the movie theater, and Back to the Future is playing. Robin and Steve are high as hell, guys. They are just... They're gone. And they're loving this movie. But somewhat through the movie, they get sick, so they wander off, and then they get sick. Then they have a heart-to-heart in the bathroom after they throw up, and then Steve's all like, oh, I like you, Robin, and Robin's like, oh, this is awkward, I'm gay. So, yep, that happened. Very awkward moment, if you ask me. Nancy, Jonathan, Elle, Mike, Lucas, Max, and Will, they go to the hospital to free a possessed or flayed Miss Driscoll, hoping she will lead them to the Mind Flayers base. But Jonathan and Nancy are attacked by flayed newspaper employees. So they pretty much gathered an army. Let me sum that up so that makes sense. The Mind Flayer pretty much gathered an army through Billy, and it just like kind of spread, and so pretty much everybody at the newspaper place got infected. Elle saves them just in time and injures the Mind Flayer. So the group goes to Hopper's cabin and Elle uses her powers to spy on Billy. She sees his memories, particularly a pleasant one of a beach day with his mom when he was young. Important thing. That was very important. We'll get to it why in a minute. The Mind Flayer finds and attacks the group at the cabin and bites Elle on the leg. They break into the grocery store to get supplies to heal Elle, and they have their first communication with Dustin, learning that he and the Scoop Troop at the mall. Hopper, Alexei, Joyce, and Murray go to the town's fun fair carnival to find their kids, but run into the Russian enforcer who shoots and kills Alexei for being a traitor. Guys, this was really badass. So, they go to this, the 4th of July fun fair carnival, and Hopper told Murray and Alexei to stay in the car. And they're all like, fuck that, we're going to go enjoy the fair. And so Alexei's having a time of his life, and all of a sudden the Russian enforcer walks up in front of him with a pistol with a silencer on it and just points it at him, and you hear a poof, and he looks down and he just starts bleeding. I thought it was pretty badass. And then he goes on to, and then the Russian enforcer goes on to chase down Hopper and Joyce in the scuffle with the Russians. Hopper runs to this fun house and beats up a bunch of Russians. And he knocks one out and takes one of their walkie-talkies and learns that their children are at the mall. So Elle's bite is infected with a piece of the Mind Flayer. Jonathan cuts her leg open, and Elle uses her powers to fling it out of her body. After that, Eleven's powers stop working. So, no more last second saves by Elle, guys. So now, everybody is together at the mall, and come up with a plan to kill the Mind Flayer and close the gate. They go their separate ways to put the phase of the plan in motion. The Scoop Troop goes to Dustin's radio tower to get a strong enough signal to communicate with Hopper, Joyce, and Murray, who have infiltrated the underground bunker base that the Russians had. They need Planck's constant to open the door. Sorry about that. And nobody knows it, and the only person that would know it would be Susie, they come to find out. So, this is the first time we heard from Susie this whole season. Everybody thought she was fake. So Dustin radios Susie. They finally get in touch, and he asks her for the number. And she was like, nope, not until you sing. And they ended up singing the Neverending Story theme song. Very cute, guys. I suggest you look it up on YouTube if you have not seen it, if you've continued to watch this after I told you not to. It was touching. But yep, they get the code. Both Billy and the Mind Flayer are at the mall. Billy knocks Elle unconscious and presents her to the Mind Flayer to be possessed, while the rest of the kids attack the Mind Flayer with fireworks. Elle recounts Billy's beach memory. Seemingly unpossessed now, he fights the Mind Flayer and sacrifices himself for Elle. So kind of makes sense, doesn't make sense. So, excuse me. So, Elle was just like, I remember her, or I've seen her, the woman in your memories, and it's his mom. It's like the last good memory he has is of his mother when he was very young. They were at the beach, and she just like brought that up to him, and he kind of snapped back into it, and he's like, what the hell am I doing? And he sacrificed himself. In the underground base, Hopper and Joyce are attacked by the Russian mercenary where they are trying to close the gate. Hopper leads him away from the operations room where Joyce and the keys to close the gate are, and pushes him into a machine, killing him. Unable to get away from the gate in time. Okay, so he pushes the mercenary into the machine that's opening the gate, and it like puts up this wall of electric barrier, pretty much. Unable to get away from the gate in time, Hopper sacrificed himself so that Joyce can close the gate and kill the mind flare. Hopper seemingly dies in the explosion. It didn't show him die, so, you know, at first I was kind of like, oh my god, if he comes back next season, I'm not watching it, this is stupid. But I was talking to people, and one of the big theories is he went into the Upside Down because it was open. He could have escaped. Who knows? And when she turned it off, it exploded. So it exploded, and he could have been close enough that it transported him. There's a bunch of theories out there. So we're gonna continue. Before I continue. So after they close the gate, the mind flare dies, and everybody's out in the mall parking lot. The U.S. government shows up, and pretty much, Joyce walks out and hugs Will, and then Elle looks at Joyce, and Joyce starts crying, and Elle starts crying, and it's just an emotional wreck, guys. It was very touching, very touching. 3 months later, the town grieved the last of Hopper and 30 other Hawken residents who they believe to have died in an explosion at the Starcourt Mall. The mayor is arrested, and 11 has lost her powers. 11 reads, so Hopper wrote a speech that he was supposed to read to Mike and 11, and he didn't do it. But 11 ends up getting it, and she reads it, and it's a very emotional letter. She cried. She learned how much he truly cared about her. She felt loved. Very, very emotional. Mike and 11 professed their love for each other. Joyce takes 11 along with Jonathan and Will, and they leave Hawkins. They're like, we're out of here. This place is crazy. We're done. In the post-credit scene in Russia, so if you finish watching it all, in the post-credit scene in Russia, guards at a secret facility choose a prisoner to be fed to a Demogorgon, and they say, quotes, not an American, who may or may not be Hopper. So guys, that's pretty much season 3 summed up in about 25 minutes. So, let me know what you guys think about season 3. Let me know in the comments what you think happened to Hopper. If you think he's in Russia, if you think he's dead. Let me know what you thought about this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out my Facebook and Instagram. All the same name. Let me ask you this. Remember, I'm also on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Speaker, iHeartRadio. You guys don't have to just keep listening to me on YouTube. Check out my other platforms. But yeah, guys, it's been a pleasure. Again, let me know what you guys think about Season 3. And you guys have a good day.